two, conquering one of my greatest fears. No, not speaking in front of large crowds. Speaking in front of my parents. I shall pretend I am 6 years old again, reciting a poem about speech and gingerbread men at speech meet. For the speech, I ran a student consumer survey about what people wanted to hear about graduation, collected the answers, and ran regressions in SPSS to determine what best to speak to you about today. I checked to make sure my variables were coded properly, my R-squared was sufficiently high, and that my p-value was less than alpha. Thereby proving, 1, I've learned something here at Cary, and 2, I have the ability to apply it to a real-world context. You look alarmed. It's a jest. Although with more time, I may do that for the next speech I'm allowed to give. For this moment, I opened all the filing cabinets in my memory, rifled through the pages scribed through time by people, events, and books. By the file entitled, Things I Need to Know But Do Not Really Want to Remember, a file you may also have, was simply a file titled, Voiceless. Pulling from the haphazard treasure of scraps and tidbits in this file, there's a common thread. Knotted into it are elements of legacy, of what brought me here and what impels me forward. Let me share with you one of the scraps. I once asked my father, why did Goonie, my grandfather, always start businesses? Why was he an entrepreneur? The answer I got was, well, who would hire him? He was Chinese. That is the smallest of stories, but there's so much behind it. Imagine yourself to be a Chinese man in the US in the early 1900s, challenged by decades of systemic policies that resulted in inequities in education, housing, and in employment opportunities. This was my Goonies world. From watching my grandfather, in fact all my grandparents, I was acutely aware of how policies and systems could be created to enforce the marginalization of different peoples, policies and practices still in play today, to steal the voice of groups of people. Though I speak from my family's experience, my wisdom tradition, there are still many groups in our society who experience similar isolation or even rejection. Immigrants from other countries, those who confront the ever-widening gamut of issues related to gender, race, religion, and more. Though Goonie was very, very good at his business, my memories, and the memories of those who spoke about him at the end of his days said that he was a humane man, caring for others and not expecting a return. A wise man, thinking before speaking, an industrious and honest man, a man who built communities wherever he was. That is one of the legacies of my grandfather, the entrepreneur, the gentleman. From him I learned that to find ways, sometimes unconventional, as he and many did, to create thriving, successful communities and businesses despite seemingly insurmountable situations of silence was a joy and a reward beyond that of power and wealth. Another tidbit more recently filed. In our first days at Cary, seemingly so long ago now, when we went around the room introducing ourselves and a bit of our background, I said something to the extent of, hi, I'm Tammy, I'm a teacher. You should have seen the eyes glaze over. By the time I got to, and I want to get back into education, I either had lost them or had intrigued them. But seared into my mind were and are memories of students that had passed through the doors of my classroom. And as much as I could do for them as their teacher, I asked myself, how can I do more? How could their voices, all voices, be heard? After all, a student far more enduring. It was the recognition of the voicelessness of entire communities in education and an embracing of the unconventional that I learned from my family's legacy that drove me to Cary. In my memory files, there are many memories I will take with me forever from Cary. Perhaps you may have similar ones. The inordinate amount of group work, the joy of perusing Carey Compass, competing at Holt Prize, conquering Littlefield, the aha moment when you figured out the ridiculous elevators, and of course, the camaraderie of friends. One of my keenest memories is from I4H, sitting around a small table in Ecuador with my teammates, eating a humble meal of cheese, boiled beans, boiled choclo, with Gabino, his wife, his son, his father and mother, listening to him speak of his goals for TVE, the television station he was head of, but also of his desires for his son to learn of his people, the Quechua, their language and legacy, and their efforts to get their voices heard. This permeated everything that Gabino and his wife worked for. He was carrying on a legacy, and he was doing it intentionally and holistically, creating a voice for the voiceless, for people he knew and those he didn't know, because he thought it was right. The community and business were tightly interwoven. In our lives, we have stepped and will step into varying positions of influence with a plethora of job descriptions and titles. From that position, you will have a unique vantage point. I hope you use it honestly to seek the voiceless and raise your voice for them as they find theirs. To build and strengthen communities, to actually be a part of the communities you're in for however long a time. I hope you use the creativity, imagination, intelligence, virtue, and chutzpah within you that you brought here now to learn and build beyond yourself. There are people you have met that have left an indelible mark on your life, and you have left a mark on theirs. I hope we build a legacy of goodness, unwavering search for truth and beauty that will touch people and reach the ears of people we never thought we would reach. Felt with fondness and a tinge of disbelief at having completed what I must now confess was completely daunting in my metaphorical mental filing cabinets. I would like to tell you, friends, faculty, staff, and my strict, loving, and beautiful family, you have left an indelible mark on my life. I am honored to carry that forward, as I hope you are too. I wish you all the best. Again, congratulations to all of you, and from the depths of my heart, thank you.
That was terrific. Thank you, Tammy. I now have the privilege of acknowledging a number of students who have distinguished themselves during their academic career at the Johns Hopkins Carey Business School. I would like to start by congratulating those Bachelor of Business Administration recipients graduating with honors. Those of you present this morning, please rise when I call your name. Holly Chen. Joseph Michael Diantuono. Jawe Dong. Karina Uvan Yan. Juniko Wijata. Yuan Yang. The Dean's Award for Excellence is presented to an undergraduate for the highest grade point average in the undergraduate program. Today, this award goes to Juniko Wijata. You may be seated. Thank you. Finally, I want to recognize the recipients of the Edward J. Stegman Memorial Award for Excellence in Business Scholarship. Edward J. Stegman was the founder of Stegman & Company and taught business economics and accounting at Johns Hopkins University in the 1930s and 40s. The Stegman Award recognizes graduates with the highest GPA in the full-time MBA program and also in the full-time MS programs and also the part-time programs. Those of you present this morning, please rise when I call your name. For our full-time programs, the recipients are Brent Christian Schneider, an MBA student. We have lots of fans in the front row, very good. And Jiatu Liu, a Master of Science in Finance, who is not with us this morning. For our part-time program, the recipient is Jonathan Wesley Spirit. Congratulations to all of you on your remarkable achievements. Now, it is an annual custom of the Johns Hopkins Alumni Association to sponsor the Excellence in Teaching Awards to outstanding faculty members across the university. This year, we have two very well-deserving recipients who are being recognized for their hard work and commitment. Ricard Gill and Federico Bande. Professor Gill earned his PhD in economics from the University of Chicago and joined the Carey Business School in 2001. He studies organizational economics, focusing on strategy and industrial organization. To his right is Professor Bande, studies financial econometrics, continuous time asset pricing, and empirical market microstructure. He earned his PhD in economics from Yale University and has been with the Carey faculty since 2009. This is a prestigious honor for our faculty, and it is especially meaningful because the students select the recipients. A round of applause, please, for Professor Gill. We're in for a treat. It is my pleasure to introduce our commencement speaker, Mr. David Rubenstein. Mr. Rubenstein is the co-founder and co-chief executive officer of the Carlyle Group. He founded the Carlyle Group in 1987. Today, this global alternative asset manager has more than 188 billion, that's with a B, in assets under management. He's a native of Baltimore. He graduated magna cum laude from Duke University, where he was elected to Phi Beta Kappa. And after Duke, he earned his law degree from the University of Chicago Law School, where he was an editor of the Law Review. He has served as the emeritus member of the Johns Hopkins University Board of Trustees, and he is a current member of the Johns Hopkins Medicine Board of Trustees. Please welcome David Rubenstein.
I was last in this building and on this stage 50 years ago when I graduated from high school, Baltimore City College. I can honestly say I don't remember anything that was said by the commencement speaker at that time. I didn't remember anything that was said 5 minutes after he said it either. So I lower your expectations. I don't expect you'll remember very much of what I say, but hopefully for maybe a few hours you'll get some of the message and maybe carry it with you. Before I go forward, I wanted to ask, how many prospective graduates never thought they would actually make it to this day? Be honest. Okay? How many parents, grandparents, siblings, and friends never thought they would see this day? Okay? How many prospective graduates have some debt to pay off? Okay? How many prospective graduates expect to soon use their degree to become millionaires? Anybody? How many would like in time to become billionaires? Anybody? Okay. How many would like a short commencement speech? So would I. Before giving one, let me thank the Dean for inviting me and for giving me this honor. As a native of Baltimore and as someone who served more than a decade on the Hopkins Board of Trustees, I can think of few activities as pleasurable as speaking today in Baltimore to a new class of Hopkins graduates and future leaders. To all of the graduates of the class of 2016, and to all of you future leaders, congratulations on your being only a few minutes away from receiving degrees which you have earned and which our society regards as an unofficial license to make money. If you are graduating from the Hopkins Medical School or the Graduate School, or the School of Advanced International Studies, or the Peabody Institute, you would also have a valued degree, but a different type of license. And therefore, if you focus your attention with those degrees from those schools on the accumulation of wealth, you might well stand out a bit. Need an MS or an MBA or even an undergraduate business degree to make large amounts of money, as Bill Gates and Mark Zuckerberg have demonstrated. Those who possess an MBA or an MS or an undergraduate business degree are often seen as, fairly or not, individuals who want to build, work at, or even run organizations which are designed largely to make money. And there's nothing wrong with that. Our economy, indeed all market economies, need companies which provide essential products and services, which make a profit by doing so, and which share that profit with their investors, leaders, employees, and society at large. And all market economies need talented individuals to make their systems work well. By virtue of the fact that you now have a degree from a distinguished business school, you will no doubt be able to help ignite, fuel, enhance, and grow this kind of system. And while this system, known in its various forms as capitalism, has its faults and flaws, to be sure, it is nonetheless a system which has created and will create more wealth and improve more lives than any other economic system ever invented. And now that you have, in effect, a license to help make this kind of system work better, you will no doubt, in different ways, in many ways unpredictable today, be creating wealth for yourself, for others, and for society. And the creation and accumulation of wealth is not, when done appropriately, a bad outcome. Indeed, it can be a very good outcome for you and society, provided you recognize that the purpose of wealth should be much, much more than the accumulation of homes, yachts, jewels, planes, art, and so many other common symbols of wealth. In truth, you should realize that the greatest value in accumulating wealth is the good you can do to help make your society and your country a better place. I assure you from my own experience that far greater joy just to buy more homes or enlarge my net worth statement. No doubt Johns Hopkins and Bill Carey felt the same way when they provided the capital needed to create this university and to enhance this university's business school. And all of you are the direct beneficiaries of this particular act of philanthropy by those individuals. So please, as you join or rejoin the capitalist system, wherever you live, measure your self-worth by your net worth. Do not measure your self-worth by your net worth. Give back to your society, and with more than just your money, give your time, your ideas, and your energy. Make a difference on this earth. Do something which makes your community, your society, your country, and your earth somewhat better than you found it when you came here. Justify your existence on the face of the earth. Give back. Focus on more than just your personal well-being. You will ultimately lead a much fuller, consequential, meaningful, and importantly, enjoyable and satisfying life if you do so. Do not get to your deathbed having spent all of your time building wealth rather than distributing large amounts of your wealth to others in a way which can make your society and your country a better place. We are all on this earth for an incredibly short time, far too short. The earth is 5 billion years old. Life on earth is 3.5 billion years old. Homo sapiens 5 to 85 years, or a fleeting microsecond compared to just the times that humans emerged from caves. Do not waste your microsecond. Do not waste it only by accumulating money with the license you now have to make money. Follow the lead of so many others who have been fortunate to accumulate wealth. Follow the lead of Andrew Carnegie, or John D. Rockefeller, or Bill and Melinda Gates, or Warren Buffett, and so many others who were fortunately able to accumulate more money than they needed and that they really gave that money away. Do not follow the lead of the Egyptian pharaohs who wanted to be buried with all their wealth. There honestly is no evidence that, and if the Pharaoh factor does not convince you, then consider what I call the mother factor. As I was building my company, I suspect my mother was pleased, but she did not regularly call me to say how proud she was of my building a global private equity firm from a very modest roots in Baltimore and having no finance background. However, when I started giving away my money, my mother regularly called me to congratulate me on what I was doing. So if you want to make your mother proud and have her regularly tell you that, focus much of your energies on giving away your money and giving back to society, which made it possible for you to accumulate that wealth. As a father, I should add that fathers can also be proud of what their children do. Mothers just may be better able to express it. No doubt, those of you who might willingly accept my advice without giving part of your wealth away to better your society and your country are beginning to wonder whether you will in fact be skilled or fortunate enough to accumulate more wealth than you really need. As you sit here today, you may well say that it's easy for someone who's made a good deal of money to talk about giving money away, but you are not there yet, and you're not sure you will ever get there. Well, I can assure you that you will get there and be able to give away large sums of money if you follow my rules for success in the capitalist system. I have been reluctant to give out these rules in a commencement address, for I do not want you or your family to feel that you have wasted your time and money over the past few years. I did not want you to feel that you could have skipped the class. You did not honestly need to attend all those courses or write all those papers. But now that you've done all that and earned your degree, and to be honest, it is worth having, here's all you need to know to get wealthy. There are only 10 simple rules to follow. But please keep these confidential. As a capitalist, I do not need too much competition. Again, when you follow these rules and do accumulate more money than you really need, I believe you will enjoy giving away the money more than making it. So do not avoid this greater pleasure by failing to give away the money you honestly do not need. And if greater pleasure on earth is not sufficient motivation, think about this. I have it on good authority that philanthropists are allowed by God to live a longer life. You may have noticed the great philanthropists all seem to make it to their 80s, if not their 90s. And after their time does come, there is a special place, a comfortable, pleasurable place, reserved in heaven for them. Now, I admit the authority I'm relying on for this information is not able to provide hard proof of these occurrences, but why would you want to take a chance that I'm wrong? The consequences could be unpleasant. Now, the confidential rules. Remember, do not tell these to other people. Rule 1. Find something you truly enjoy doing and are so interested in working on the activity that the requisite long hours and the prospect of making large sums of money are not your concerns. Remember that fortunes are almost never made by people who are really uninterested in what they're doing. Fortunes are typically made by individuals who feel passionate about convincing others that their idea for a product or service is very good, indeed great. Typically, the making of great fortunes is not the motivating factor. Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, among others, had ideas they wanted to show were great ideas, and the money was honestly not their main concern. So find something you are passionate about doing. Focus your energies and brains on that undertaking. Do not focus on the amount of money you expect or want to earn. That will come in time if you focus on doing what you are pursuing with passion and a commitment to excellence. Rule 2. Define the idea that makes you passionate. Experiment. Try many different ideas, jobs, and careers. It is rare that your first idea will be the one which works perfectly for you. Of course, the Gates and the Zuckerbergs argue against this rule, but as a general matter, it is far better to assume you need to switch ideas, switch jobs, or switch companies until you find something about which you are truly passionate. You really have to truly love what you're doing if you're going to put in the time and effort to make what you're doing enormously successful. The founder of Uber, Travis Kalanick, is on his third startup. The first went bankrupt. Rule 3, think outside of the box. Do something innovative, something no one else has done or is likely to do. This or in an organization you create. Do not listen to your friends and your relatives who tell you what you want to do is impossible. Trust your own instincts and judgment. Remember, the conventional wisdom is almost always wrong when it comes to innovation and change. Had Jeff Bezos listened to those who told him you cannot sell books or anything else over the internet, there would be no Amazon and he still might be working at a hedge fund. Rule 4. When you find the idea, the concept, the product, or the service about which you are passionate and willing to work around the clock to prove its merits, Concentrate your efforts. Make yourself an expert in everything related to that matter. Do not delegate. Sweat the details. Focus. Do the key activities yourself. Master every fact and data point. Make sure you're the world's leading expert on that subject. In short, do not try to hedge your bets and try to work at the same time on too many different ideas or projects, hoping one will really succeed by some kind of happenstance or divine intervention. Work on the one which has your passion and make sure you know more about it than anyone else on the face of the earth. In short, focus, focus, focus. Rule 5, learn how to motivate a team of similarly highly focused and talented individuals to work with you. Almost without exception, all great entrepreneurs or business leaders had at least one partner, and generally they had a few, to make the activity or idea work well. It is teamwork which produces great ideas in companies much more than anyone's pure genius or drive. In the business world, there are no E=mc² moments that one person by himself or by herself develops and the world changes as a result. So learn how to motivate others to work closely and intensely with you. Others have said, and it is very true, there is no limit to what humans can achieve if they are prepared to share the credit. Rule 6, learn how to communicate effectively what you want others to do. Wealth invariably accrues to leaders rather than followers, and to lead others, you need to perfect your ability to communicate effectively. You communicate effectively and get others to follow by doing the tough work yourself, leading by example. Nothing is more effective. George Washington, staying at Valley Forge when he did not have to do so, inspired his troops and was the ideal leader by example. You also communicate and influence others by learning how to communicate orally very well. Perfect your ability to speak in an effective and persuasive way. Similarly, learning how to write effectively can influence others. You do not need to speak like Martin Luther King or Winston Churchill, or write like Thomas Jefferson or Abraham Lincoln to persuade others of what you want. But mastering the skills of communicating can never be underestimated. And there is no substitute for practicing these skills until you master them. In short, learn how to lead and to lead by example, and also by speaking and writing with ease and persuasiveness. If you cannot master leading in all of these 3 ways, and if you can, at least master one of these leadership skills. Rule 7, read regularly. Newspapers, magazines, journals, and particularly books, but especially on topics that do not relate to your job. Expand your mind continually. Stimulate your brain often. You never know which expansion or stimulus will give you an idea that will lead to an insight or perception or a thought which will improve and enhance your life and your well-being. You can never read too much. Bill Gates, at this stage in his life, is reading 50 books a year. Do not fall into the trap of more than 1/4 of U.S. college graduates who never read another book after they graduate. Rule 8, maintain some sense of